Timeism, Existential Meltdown from Economic Lies. The field of economics should, in all honesty based on its human impact, be renamed the science of the killing laws, necronomics. Its theories and laws are killing humanity. The primary acts of necronomists echo the divorce of symbols from substance, with their willingness to lie about the truths that they find. While the concept of currency arose from the phrase, "What is your time currently worth?" and while everyone knee-jerks the cliché, "Time is money and money is time," economics does not strive to keep united the symbols and substance of time. Au contraire, economists are like marriage counselors who are eternally divorced. Economic divorce specialists are the currency speculators who play symbols against substance. They could not cause economic earthquakes without the aid of fellow economists. Or worse yet, being an economist, George Soros. Or, worst of all, having 2 Nobel Prizes in economics, as at LTCM. Fueling the speculation in symbols of wealth, aka hedging, is a new form of liquidity. Overall, the stock market is a vast game to ratchet wealth away from the creators of substance by using symbols. Economists are intellectual streetwalkers, shaping and selling their body of information to the highest bidder with little or no integrity. Consider the economists hired in 2003 by the White House for its economic team. From New York Times, February 27, 2003. In nominating a respected Harvard economist as one of its top advisors, President Bush has now replaced nearly everyone from his original economic team with people who all at one time spoke out against the kinds of policies Mr. Bush is prescribing. N. Gregory Mankiw, whom Mr. Bush nominated on Wednesday to lead his Council of Economic Advisors, wrote a popular economics textbook in which he ridiculed the supply-side tax cuts of President Ronald Reagan as fad economics conceived by charlatans and cranks. Placing blame at the feet of the worker, financial advisors and habitual politicians said that the workers had not diversified enough, that they had put too much money in their own company. What happens when workers won't invest in their own company? No company is worth investing in. It is like parents who do not raise their kids to take care of the parents. Thus, no kids in the next generation want to take care of any parents of the previous generation. Cute. The 1990s stock market bubble was a vast inflationary cycle in which more and more money was chasing the same goods, America's production. Unfortunately for the workers, the stock presses were running full-time for corporate officers and directors. More and more symbols were claiming the same goods, which is the classical definition of inflation. Among the many symbols behind the existential meltdown is the growing gap between executive pay and performance. If they turned water into wine, then they might deserve the astronomical compensation. However, many turned milk cows into dead pigs. While their dollar compensation was often only a few $100,000, their double and triple-digit annual incomes came from exercising stock options at pennies on the dollar. IPOs had a math that begs the question, where were the tenured economists and habitual politicians? The math of IPOs is simple. About 10% of the capitalized stock is sold on the initial public offering day, with the rest to be sold gradually in the coming months and years. At the minimum, the stock had to drop by 90% as insiders unloaded their shares. This minimum was often 95% to 99%, for the stock was sold at many times its real value of substance. Like the old joke says, economists know the price of everything but the value of nothing. If the lottery is a tax on the poor who don't know math, then the NASDAQ was a tax on the middle class who believed in the math of tooth fairies. Anyone who wonders why AOL Time Warner stock has dived need only look at the money that Steve Case took from dumb, stupid working slobs. And he was not alone at AOL, for all the executives and directors had capitalistic stock options. And AOL was only one of thousands of corporations that use stock options to enrich executives while employees' futures disappear. People were led to believe they were investing in AOL when they were really increasing Steve Case's bankroll. Now, when bank robbers case a joint, they want to legally steal it blind. An interesting thing about the AOL Time Warner merger. The deciding vote was cast by the FCC chairman, Michael Powell, whose father had $8.7 million in AOL stock when Michael cast the deciding vote. His father, Colin Powell, U.S. Secretary of State, who amassed almost $70 million in stock from over 30 companies in just a few years in the mid-1990s. What was this former general selling to these corporations to get so much in just a few years after leaving the military? How much was he like the Secretary of Army, White, a fellow former Army general that made millions off of Enron? Millions that came from the pensions of thousands of employees. The combined worth of AOL and Time Warner would be worth more today if they had not merged, for each would have focused on what they did best. If the shareholders of AOL and Time Warner want to sue someone, the first on the list should be Michael Powell. Anyone who says politicians with conflicts of interest don't harm the average American is an insider or an idiot. Some billionaire fat cats who extracted billions from workers through stock options occasionally receive appropriate compensation as part of the existential meltdown. The existential meltdown of people's time is continuing because none of the parties are doing anything to stop the theft of time through the stock market. Economists, politicians, or workers. Inflation is an inflated word. Like democracy, inflation is a concept that can be whatever the speaker wants it to be. This is an example of personal truths ruling over the absolute truth. As noted elsewhere, inflation needs to be broken into simple, distinct terms that capture the cheapening that is common to all inflationary suffering. Monflation. Money inflation because money increases faster than goods and services. Sinflation, shortage inflation due to disappearing goods and services while money supply does not reduce as much. Coflation, completion inflation for goods and services between the creators of substance and the thieves of symbols. As conveyed previously, the primary effect of inflation is not only to cheapen money, but, more sadly, to cheapen the time of the creators of substance as the symbol players steal, legally or illegally. The cheapening nature of inflation is conveyed in its semantic cousins: flatulence, flattery, and infatuations, all poor substitutes for the real thing. What is cheapened is our time as our existence floats away. The fuzzy predictions of weathermen are a track record that many investors wish that economists could half meet. Our existential meltdown owes much to the half-truths and personal truths of economists on many levels. With the fall of the stock market came the fall of interest rates, which refinanced low-interest houses or bought zero-interest automobiles. Only half the story is told about interest rates, for public, private, and personal pension funds are going broke from low interest rates. The money gained by refinancing will need to be spent to shore up pension funds, except many refinancers spent the money on new and bigger toys. Economists talk about how much money people are making from the rise in the value of houses. Sounds too much like the stock market exuberance of the 1990s. Where is the voice in the media headlines or in the national news that is connecting the shortage of affordable housing with the inflationary skyrockets of real estate? As low interest rates suck money out of retirement, so are inflationary housing prices sucking money out of buyers. As the inflationary Ponzi scheme in the stock market could not last, nor will the inflationary spiral in housing prices. The record rate of pension bankruptcies from the stock market fallout will be matched by the increase in mortgage defaults, which are, in 2003, at record highs. One tangible sign of the existential meltdown is the rise in homeless, while food bank shelves become bare, a bear market after the bear market. While these unemployment figures show a rise in unemployment, which is a cheapening of individuals' time, personal meltdown, the figures do not tell the truth, for the bullshitters of 2002 plus have consistently juggled the figures to perfume the stench. Like unemployment figures, Bush's economic growth is misportrayed to give short-term political gain. There is a primary symbol of misused symbols to steal from the creators of substance, it is monetarism. Monetarism is legal usury, a system whereby the controllers of symbols can get more ownership of substance by charging higher interest rates. The time equivalent of interest costs on many international loans is greater than the disposable income in those nations. Until the world has a better, honest currency, the life hour, the prevailing economic and financial system will be a cancer that sucks money out of economic bodies. Economists are intellectual streetwalkers, shaping and selling their body of information to the highest bidder with little or no integrity. Consider the economist hired in 2003 by the White House for its economic team. From New York Times, February 27, 2003. In nominating a respected Harvard economist as one of its top advisors, President Bush has now replaced nearly everyone from his original economic team with people who all at one time spoke out against the kinds of policies Mr. Bush is prescribing. N. Gregory Mankiw, whom Mr. Bush nominated on Wednesday to lead his Council of Economic Advisers, wrote a popular economics textbook in which he ridiculed the supply-side tax cuts of President Ronald Reagan as fad economics conceived by charlatans and cranks. The saga of long-term capital management shows the cancer within economic schools of thought, for the two founding Nobel laureates would have collapsed the world's financial system with their hedges if the U.S. Federal Reserve had not stepped in with the first-ever private financial bailout. When the best and brightest are killing the system, can an existential meltdown be avoided? History will show that Alan Greenspan was like many investors, politicians, and economists in the 1990s. They went along for a ride that they did not understand or control, but aided by ignoring warning signs of impending doom. Greenspan, a monetarist, is an intellectual prostitute of the highest calling. Throughout history, economists have formulated theories to allow some people to get something for nothing, especially Karl Marx. This chart summarizes the intellectual cancers that eat away at the creators of life-sustaining substances until the whole system dies. What humanity needs is an economic system based on time so that people get an honest wage for an honest problem solution. That wage is the life hour, which captures the time that one creates when one solves a problem. The wage will come out of a universal time clock payroll system. Will humanity implement it before the existential meltdown sinks humanity?